So the purpose of this video is to provide a description of using Logix Direct to read data from a Allen Bradley Logix, either a CompactLogix or a ControlLogix PLC. So the great advantage of that is there's nothing additional to purchase beyond StripchartV. You don't need an OPC server. It can communicate directly with the PLC. All you need to specify is the IP address of the PLC, and what processor slot the PLC is in. This route path, generally you're going to ignore that. That's for complex route paths through multiple communication adapters. So we've entered the IP address and the PLC is in the leftmost slot. So we just hit Browse Items and it browsed the entire data structure in the PLC that quickly. It's actually faster than OPC browsing. So now all the variables are shown in this tree view, and I've got some controller scope tags and then one task. So we'll open up those program scope tags, and just like with OPC, you can either drag or double click to add the variables. So we've just added a couple of variables, and it changed the data type to Logix because they were added from this Logix browser dialog. So at that point we can start scanning and read live data. So there's other ways to add Logix data. You can of course type it directly. First select a Logix type tag and then enter the PLC address. Let's just browse again, and I want to show a little complication around data structures, and that is tags that aren't just a simple floating point value or integer value. So this tag here, this P1UDT, is a user-defined tag. So the Logix browser unfortunately can't figure out what the elements are in that user-defined tag. It just doesn't know. So if I double-click it, it comes in with a question mark in the suffix of that address. And if I happen to know what particular element of that data structure I'm interested in, I can just type it in myself and start reading the data. Well, there's another way to browse these tags in the processor and put them in for Logix reads that gets a bit more information than you can get with a direct browse from Logix. So what we're going to do is we're going to save a ControlLogix file as an L5K and then read that L5K with StripchartV so we can see the data with more detail. So I've brought up the Logix Designer and I'm in controller scope, and here's that P1UDT tag with these 4 elements in the data structure, and the .val is the one I was interested in. So couldn't see that with a direct browse, but if we save as an L5K file, we now can read that L5K file with StripchartV. Tools, Browse L5K, that was off the screen, but it's under the Tools menu. So we go to the L5K file that I just saved. There it is. And it's read that file, and here's that data structure. So there's that controller scope user-defined tag with a data structure. So the L5K was able to see the data in that structure. So now I can drag it in, but I need to change it to an OPC, or excuse me, to a Logix read, not an OPC. So I had to do that manually because you can use this L5K browser for OPC or Logix. So sampling, and I'm reading that tag. So that's a trick for creating tags for Logix Direct Read. Use this L5K file to take care of these user-defined data types. And other user-defined data types are PNIDs, timers, things like that. Okay, and Logix Direct Read is able to scan quite quickly. You can change the scan rate down quite low, and it reads pretty well even with 100 variables. So it's a nice alternative to OPC to avoid having to pay for the OPC server.